From Chesapeake, Virginia, the Lighthouse 100.1 presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Now here is Greg Bickaveris.
Sports Scene presented by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Greg Bickaveris along with Colleen. Glad you're with us. Sports Scene is on the radio every Saturday on 1010 AM, 100.1 FM, 96.9 FM, and tunein.com by typing WPMH in the search bar. Subscribe to me on TuneIn as well. Tell your friends about Sports Scene. Twitter at Greg Bick, at Greg Bick on YouTube. And you can see the rest of my Twitter handles on gjbtv.com by going to the contact section. Guest lineup presented by gjbtv.com. Phone line presented by hrsmhof.com as well. Sports Scene, a lot going on with the NFL. Postseason right around the corner. A lot to look forward to. Great interviews, excellent guests, business segments, highlights, commentary. What tees me off? Thank you for listening to Sports Scene. We love our regulars, tourists who listen online and on the radio. Stay tuned. Recently, the NBA lost a giant in basketball, Tommy Heinsohn, former Boston Celtics broadcaster and coach. As a kid, every Sunday after church, I would see the Celtics play on CBS against teams like the Milwaukee Bucks and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Heinsohn coached great Celtics like Dave Cowens, John Havlicek, JoJo White, Don Nelson, Paul Silas. I grew up watching them, and he will be missed. May his memory be eternal.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bickaveris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios.
And welcome back to Sports Scene right here on WPMH. I almost wanted to say the game because our next guest used to work with me at the game in Virginia Beach 7 years ago. Plus, Coach Merrill used to do a show in the afternoon. How are you, my friend?
Greg, great to be with you. It's great to reminisce a little bit about the old days that we used to share at the game.
It's really good to reconnect as well, Doug, especially during the holiday season. First of all, what a year, Doug, 2020. I mean, you've done a lot of psychology-type work over the years. This has really tested a lot of people.
It's been a huge test, Greg. If I would have told you a year ago that we were going to be wearing masks and not gathering and possibly not exchanging gifts for the holidays, I think you would have probably said that there was something wrong with me. So it's been a test for everybody, and I think emotionally and psychologically more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, we really have been tested, and of course, every day is different. Holidays, not quite the same, but faith and family are so important. Well, let's dive right into it. First of all, your thoughts on this, the college football season. The Big Ten really could not make up their mind. They waited till late October. The Pac-12 even further. Some college teams have been playing, but a lot of games have been canceled and postponed in the fall of 2020. Schools like William & Mary, Norfolk State, Hampton University have not played at all this fall. This has been really a difficult football year and not quite the buzz either.
Well, I'll tell you something, Greg. You know, when you bring up college football, this is probably my favorite sport. This is the one that gets my blood pumping the most. So I was very happy to hear that college football was going to be played in certain areas of the country, and then extremely happy when I was told that the Big Ten was going to play, being from Ohio, and that the ACC was going to be playing now that I've lived in Virginia for about 10 years. I am a little disappointed, however, with how it's been going. Now, listen, I'm just going to be honest with everybody. You know, I have extreme empathy for the population of the people that are vulnerable to coronavirus. Now, I am, and I would encourage everybody that if you feel that you are in one of those populations that are in, you know, the most vulnerable, that you take the most precautions. But life cannot stand still. Life cannot stop moving forward. And so I was very happy that college football was going to be played. I am disappointed, however, when I hear that games are being canceled in this area or that area. And then I'm going to tell you why. I have a difficult time with a response to a virus where spring break may take more college kids than this, if any at all, with this virus. So I am a play the game. I am a live your life person, and I do so and say so without any apologies. So in regards to the actual games that are taking place, Greg, we have seen things in the college football scene that we have not seen in a long time. Penn State starting 0-3. You've seen Michigan really show what they're all about. I mean, what is going on with that program is going to need, you got to look under the hood, as Coach Urban Meyer would say, and I'm not sure U of M has done that in a long time. In regards to the ACC, I can't say the ACC right now without, Clemson has been the ACC, and now you bring Notre Dame in for 1 year only, and they're beating Clemson, and they're right now they're in the driver's seat to take the ACC. Another note for the ACC would be you have to look and see what Liberty is doing. Liberty beat Virginia Tech. Liberty is going to take on NC State this weekend, and even though they're dogs by 3.5 points, they may end up taking that one. And of course, Liberty's not in that league, but you can't say the ACC right now without seeing what somebody from the outside the ACC is doing to those traditional teams in the ACC.
Absolutely. Talking to Coach Merrill right here on Sports Scene. Glad you're with us. Greg Picaveras at Greg Bick on Twitter. We'll get Coach Merrill's social media as the show evolves here. You're exactly right. It's been a very transitional year because a lot of the coaches are getting COVID, players. Then they look at the staff members, the students, and then you're seeing games played. And, of course, the networks would always say during normal times, never show empty seats, let's say at a basketball stadium. We're seeing nothing but empty seats in NFL and college football games, but it's still entertaining from a TV standpoint as well because of some of the crowd noise. What I don't like is the cardboard boxes. I think that's very childish. It might have worked for a week or two, but, they're evolving in the NFL. I got to give them credit, but it's definitely a COVID society we're living in that superseded sports this fall.
Well, there's really no subject that we can discuss where COVID does not play a role. It's literally in our lives in every single way. I am happy that they're playing sports, but also don't treat us like idiots. We know that there's nobody in those stands, and in the games that there are people, I'm appreciative of that. I think that's great, even if it is just parents and close friends and family members and things of that nature, which is some of the rules of some of the places. But that's fine. But in the areas that we're playing sports and we've got cardboard boxes and things like this, don't treat us all like we're all idiots. If you want to do the sound, fine, I guess, go ahead, do the sound. But to try to put cardboard faces on there might have been cute, like you said, for the first couple games, but you got to be kidding me. I mean, we all know that there's nobody there. So don't treat our reality as if it's not happening to us. And that's kind of where I'm at with it.
One of the things you used to always talk about before we talk about the Washington football team and, of course, their name change was Tim Tebow. We still haven't got a clear answer on what happened to him in the NFL. All he did was win and go to the postseason. Still, to this day, that conspiracy theory is still there.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something, boy. Talk about a movie that we didn't get a chance to see the end of. I used to say that all the time on the radio. This was a movie that I wanted desperately to see the fourth quarter of, and we never got a chance to see that. I used to play that song, All I Do Is Win, all the time whenever I bring up Tim Tebow on the radio. And, Tim is such a tremendous human being. I've never met anybody that met Tim Tebow and said, boy, what a jerk. I mean, you can be upset if you're a Steelers fan when he beats you in overtime with one play, and you can be upset with him because you think that he showed his religion on his sleeve too much. But as far as how he plays and the person that he is, boy, oh boy, I really wish we would have seen the last quarter of that. And maybe if it were 2020 at that time, everybody would have, because I think we all could use just some really good news. And Tim Tebow was nothing but good news all the time, week in, week out, even from his detractors. I mean, can you think of a person that performed the way he did and never got a chance? I mean, never got another chance. And it was unfortunate, but he's doing well. I enjoy his commentary on ESPN and the other outlets that he's on, but what a tremendous man that never got a chance.
Right. People are always insecure and jealous of those who succeed, and he's got such a positive attitude. He's really a good person to focus on as well. We
can use a lot more of that today.
Absolutely. And, something that's really entertaining for me, you try to get simple pleasures out of all this COVID, and what I've really enjoyed listening to is Ron Rivera's press conferences. I see him a lot on YouTube. Just go to their page, and you can see him. They're really entertaining, even if you're not a sports fan. He, of course, has battled cancer. That's not easy. But some of the questions he's asked, and about Dwayne Haskins or about different personnel, about 2 years ago about Alex Smith, you can see him like rolling his eyes. Like, let's just try to focus on the now. I think a lot of times what we've learned too during COVID is people want to focus too much on the past. Let's try to focus on the present. We can't control the past.
Right. it's funny that you say that. I always tell folks, and especially now, you cannot control what other people say, do, think, and feel. And anytime that you try to do that, all you do is bring more stress and heartache on yourself. You can only control what you do, say, think, and feel. And these days, I don't think we do a lot of that. In regards to Ron Rivera, as you said, he had his own battle with cancer, and he's got his own story. And a lot of the questions that he is being forced to answer are things that he doesn't really have a lot of control of, whether it be the name of the Washington Redskins or, as you may have put it, ghosts of the past in D.C. and things of that nature, and Alex Smith, and what a story he's had with a leg that looked like it could have fell off, and now he's playing football again. I think if I was his wife, I would have won that war and say, you're not going back out there playing. We got enough money. There's other things that you can do to compete and prove that your leg is back. But nonetheless, that was their decision, and the team brought him back, and he's playing okay. As far as the team goes itself, I'm going to say some things that Ron Rivera can't, which is we often talk about GM change, coaching change, quarterback change, this player, that player. I'm sorry to tell you, but I think what's been holding D.C. back for a long time is an ownership change. It's just an overall leadership change, whether it's been stories in the press about inappropriate behaviors, in and around that facility and with that team and the offices and things of that nature, or whatever it's been. There has been a cloud over D.C. for many reasons, but in regards to the Redskins, there has been a cloud over that team, and it starts at the top. And sometimes you have to put the team and the community before you do your own ownership. And I think it's time for Dan to pass that baton, which is a privilege to own an NFL team, and pass that on to somebody else and bring some new life in there. It doesn't mean it's going to be a quick fix, but I definitely think we have had many, many retries, restarts, and it's just not happening. And it just seems like all the news out of Redskinville is just bad all the time.
Yeah, but you look at Snyder, though. He owned the team in 1999 in his early 30s. You know this, Doug. You've been around a lot of people, especially men and women both. How many people are really that mature at 33 or 34? He was
not many.
Dealing with country club suits that guys were twice as old as him or old enough to be his grandfather. So I get it. He has to learn on the job. All of us are still evolving as humans. So I got to give him a little credit there. But you're right. Less meddling, the better. But look at what Rivera's had to deal with. Gruden did not want Haskins. You and I both have Ohio State roots. My parents got married in Columbus. I met Woody Hayes before. You grew up in Ohio. But he obviously, the previous coaching staff didn't want him. Obviously, Rivera thinks that he's immature. He didn't want him. What do you think the future is with Haskins? And then you got the Washington team who's got a quarterback who they're asking about his future, and Rivera doesn't even know how much longer he even wants to play past this season. So right now it's just a big mess, and you draft a quarterback and it went sour after that.
Well, I think whenever you try to dissect and see what's going on with any one player or any one team, I'm quick to point out that whether it's a reporter that follows them or who it is, you never really know what's going on inside a locker room unless you're inside that locker room, and everything else is just from the outside. It's speculation, and you think, and it looks like, but you never really know. The only way to really know what some decisions and why some decisions are being made is being in there, being a part of that locker room. So I'm cautious whenever I make any comments about what may or may not be going in. As far as the maturity of Dwayne Haskins, there is evidence for that. When he stays at home, he comes up with excuses not to be there and things like that. So, there's a trust issue that's going on between that organization and Dwayne Haskins. And I used to say this on the radio too as well. But just real quick to make that point, if you look at a Tom Brady, he should be labeled with every dinner conversation about the greatest quarterback that's ever lived. Now, I'm not saying that he is, but he's definitely in that conversation. And to leave him out is, you got to move to another table because now it's just ridiculous. But I often ask that question, being from Cleveland and being a Browns fan. If Tom Brady would have been drafted by the Browns back when he came out of college football out of Michigan, what would have become of him? And, of course, the easy answer for somebody, because they make fun of me about Cleveland, is he would have been a joke. It wouldn't have worked out, and he would have probably been out of football. And then my next thing is how many great quarterbacks got drafted by a team that were great quarterbacks, but we never got to see that because the organization failed them or they failed the organization, or there was a trust issue between the two, and it just never worked out. I'm not saying Dwayne Haskins is any Tom Brady. That's going to sound like the old Dan Quayle, Lloyd Benson comment.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying sometimes I think Dwayne Haskins has some serious skills, and he could be successful in the NFL, and he just could get chalked up as another person that we'll never find that out.
Yeah, he could have used another year in college. I mean, when he took that selfie last year, and, obviously Gruden kind of went with Colt McCoy and others. Of course, they got hurt too. But you can tell that Haskins definitely needed another year of college. I'm a firm believer. When we grew up, Doug, they all played 4 years in college. I don't get that anymore. I know they're not going to do that. But he's definitely one that could have used another year. He barely played a full year, even in 2 years ago, 2018. So we'll see how his career evolves, but I doubt he'll be with Washington in 2021. No, I could be wrong, but I doubt it.
I don't think you're wrong there either. I think we'll see him with another team soon.
Right, and you talk about Cleveland. I mean, look, let's give them credit. They still have a winning record. They're doing better than they've done since 1999 when they came back after that hiatus. And, of course, they're playing in a division with Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Well, anybody other than Cleveland Browns fans, it's going to take more than 6-3 record to make them believers. I often are met with people, and I'll say, well, the Cleveland 6-3, and the very next thing I see is their eyes rolled at the back of their head. So it's going to take a little bit more for Cleveland to make people believers. But 6-3 is 6-3, and especially being a Browns fan my entire life, I'll take a 6-3 over the 1-7 that I'm usually getting it by this time of the season any day. I do think, since we brought Cleveland up, Baker Mayfield is often brought up. And any time that there's any struggles on the field, what do they always say? Well, he's doing too much off the field, like his commercials and things of that nature. I don't see that as an issue there. And when Odell Beckham went down, I think Odell put his best foot forward in Cleveland. I'm not sure it worked out for him. I'm not sure that any one place is going to work out for Odell. But I do think Baker might be a better quarterback without him, because he doesn't feel like he has to throw it to him. And I think when Odell's on the field, Baker's going to look his direction first, and now he can simply find the man that's open and not worry about what number that shirt, that man is wearing.
You made that point earlier to me last week personally, and also on the air today. You cannot control what other people say, do, think, or feel, and I think that applies to Odell Beckham. Sometimes the biggest roadblocks in life, Doug, are ourselves.
Well, they certainly are, and I think when an organization takes on an athlete, you can't try to change that athlete. I mean, you can try to influence folks and influence them to get with the program, but I often come back to what Phil Jackson and the 90 Bulls did when they brought in Dennis Rodman. They didn't bring him in and say, okay, Dennis, here's all of our rules, you have to conform. They knew what they were bringing in, and they got Michael on board, and if Michael's on board, everybody else is going to be. But they knew exactly what they were getting with him. And they knew that this is going to be a guy that's not necessarily going to follow the same rules as everybody else. And everybody knew that going in. And I think when you decide that you're going to bring on an athlete that is, let's say, challenging in and out of the locker room, you have to know what you're bringing in. And if you try to control what they're doing, they're saying, they're thinking, and they're feeling, I got news for you, Greg. It's not a successful situation. It's not going to work out.
Yep, you're going to be driving to nowhere. We'll take a short break, come back with a little bit more with Coach Merrill after these messages.
Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicaveras, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic, and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM. Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicaveras.
All right, welcome back to Sports Scene with Coach Merrill. Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us. Coach, give us your Twitter handle.
At Coach Merrill 20.
Coach, it's been a year for the bubble. We saw the postseason baseball in a bubble. We saw the NBA do very well in a bubble in Florida. They're going to try to come back normal this year. I'm not sure how that's going to work right in the middle of flu season and, of course, COVID. But the sports that got finished in a bubble, like hockey and the NBA, they did pretty well for the most part.
When you bring up the sport of the NBA, I used to cover this a lot when I was on the game. And the very first thing that I'll tell you what I'm the most disappointed in is that I don't have that blood pump that I once did to the NBA. And I think I speak for a lot of fans when I just said, we just want to play basketball. We just want to cover basketball. We want you to talk about basketball. That's why we do that. That's why we attend. That's why we pay attention. And this year, you had a good season going, then you had the break with the COVID. Nobody quite knew what to do. They picked it back up again. And then because there were no fans, because it was all in one arena, because of the aesthetics of the whole thing, it was very difficult to honestly get your blood pumping for a championship. And it kind of felt like a ho-hum. And I would ask people, just because I was curious, what did you think of the NBA Finals this year? And they said there was an NBA Finals. And so I think, to be honest about the NBA right now, you have to bring that up. And then the question has to be asked, what can happen, what can we do to rectify that situation? And I'll come right back where I started. I think we need to talk about the players and the game of basketball, the strategy of basketball. All of those things is what I think is needed to bring people back to the NBA. Their ratings fell by over 50%. And, of course, COVID hurt that, not being able to attend, and nobody really knew a clear time of what was going on, when, and all those things. But most people don't even know who won the thing if you were to ask probably 100 people on the street that were athletes. They still may not know. So when they pick it back up again here in a few months and start playing, I think everybody would be wise to keep your eye on the ball of what we're doing and what we're talking about, and don't let any outside distractions come get involved.
Very nice talking to Coach Merrill. And it was a big year for both the Dodgers and the Lakers, who both resulted in a great win for championships as well, as, of course, LeBron. But a lot of the talk was about Justin Turner and his carelessness. And I get it for a kid who might have it, who might not understand. But this is an adult who is told that he's been tested positive and still went after the game to celebrate in a dense crowd with little kids, with pregnant women. Shame on him. He knew better. He could have avoided that, waited till he got home and done his own celebration. I don't get that. He's an adult. He knows better.
Well, perception is reality, Greg, and he should know better, and he should have had a lot of people, around him telling him, but my God, Greg, you shouldn't even have to do all that. I mean, you tested positive. That's the reason why you weren't in the game, and there you are celebrating on the field. Now, I get it. But, look, COVID is our reality. This is what it is, and perception is our reality, and he should never have been on that field. I feel bad for him that, how many opportunities does a person have to win a World Series championship? I got it. But not in this environment. It's not there. And it was a bad decision, and I feel the same way you did about it.
Absolutely. And how about, you talk about the Lakers. They got that big championship. Wasn't quite the same. Wasn't a full season, but regardless, they got it.
They did get it. And L.A. had a huge season in a COVID-crazy year, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Getting back to Justin Turner, I wish the fans of L.A. could have enjoyed it, the way we normally did. But, again, it's our reality that it isn't. But as far as the play goes, congratulations to the Dodgers. They've been knocking on that door now, it seems like, for the last 6 years. And congratulations to the Lakers. They, got back on top. And how poetic, being the same year that, that we lost Kobe, that the Lakers were able to don another flag up on their ceiling. So, it was a great year for L.A. And if you had the chance to pay attention, it was entertaining.
Absolutely. Doug, what are your other thoughts, too, as we go into the winter season, just for everybody just to be safe and sound and everything?
Well, again, COVID is our reality. Let's get through it. I think the good news is that we've got vaccinations that should be coming out here towards the end of the year, and then, full board here towards the front of the spring. I had a few friends of mine that came to me and they said, geez, we've got this. Now they're talking about shutting down states again and all that, and it's depressing. And I've got friends that have sports bars and things and businesses that they're losing and just trying to hold on to. And I said, I know, but let's be positive. The light's at the end of the tunnel here. And they goes, but is it? I'm thinking, we got vaccinations, brother. We're going to be okay. As soon as we get this thing and get this out there, Greg, I'm going to look at this thing from a positive angle and say, we might be able to have our sports back and our lives back here very soon and attend games next year and go and try to enjoy life the best we can.
Absolutely. And, of course, you talk about sports in the future, too, some of the individual sports. Look at the golf. Look at the Masters. Tiger didn't win it in 2020. But I think people like sports in season. You mentioned some of the ratings. I think that's why the Masters, it was hard to compete against 1 o'clock NFL football games on Sunday. I think they did overall well because they had weather. Then they try to beat the darkness, getting dark at 5:30. So when you start seeing these sports being played out of season, I think that affects the ratings, too.
Well, golf was the one sport, wasn't it, that we really didn't feel that we had lost anything. I was a little disappointed that they didn't play. I realized at the time last April we still were unclear about what this virus was doing to folks. But then once we learned more about it, we were able to play golf again. But as far as the viewing of golf, it really didn't change all that much. So I was extremely happy that they did play it, and looking forward now that we get another Masters in about 6 months. So pretty excited about that. Look past the darkness. I was able to follow that, and I'm looking forward to another spring.
Coach, all the best. Good to catch up with you. Let's do it again sometime in 2021.
Greg, my pleasure. Best to everybody out there. Thank you.
Very good. Coach Merrill right there, a longtime talk show host, great consultant, and a good asset and credit to Hampton Roads. Recently, the NBA lost a giant in basketball, Tommy Heinsohn, former Boston Celtics broadcaster and coach. As a kid, every Sunday after church, I would see the Celtics play on CBS against teams like the Milwaukee Bucks and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Heinsohn coached great Celtics like Dave Cowens, John Havlicek, JoJo White, Don Nelson, Paul Silas. I grew up watching them, and he will be missed. May his memory be eternal.
It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
Highlights, gjbtv.com, hrsmhof.com, HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. NBA season right around the corner as well. Hard to believe they just finished, it seemed like, in the bubble in Florida. Remember, folks, there's two types of people. The ones that are good with assets and those are having liabilities. Pick the assets. That's always the thought for the day. Question of the day presented to our esteemed manager and producer of Sports Scene, Colleen. Colleen, very simple. Summer, winter, fall, or spring, what is your favorite?
I'm always a summer kind of girl.
Yeah, very good. I like spring and summer myself. Fall is nice too, but warm weather is always better than cold weather. Sports Scene will continue after these messages.
Sports Scene, Hampton Roads' premier interview show with Greg Bicaveras, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM. Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicaveras in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. Always a great time of the year, fall, November, December, to talk sports and collectibles, really any time of the year, with 757 Sports Collectibles owner Anthony Checchio in Virginia Beach. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me today. It's good to be back.
My pleasure. Tell us about your address and your location. Very convenient.
We're at 2686 Virginia Beach Boulevard in Virginia Beach, and that's right across from the RK Chevrolet in the Lynn Haven Convenience Center.
Very good. When people walk into the store now, and you've been there for several years, tell us how long you've been there. What can they expect to see?
So we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary, which was very exciting, and we just have totally built the inventory from year one. We have a ton of signed and unsigned collectibles, perfect gift items for anybody that you're looking to buy for. We also have a bunch of different novelty items. These days they pretty much put a logo on everything. We've got all your PPE that you might need for the coronavirus pandemic. We've got the face mask and the hand sanitizer, and we're doing a special deal if you buy both together right now. You can get both for $20. So those are good options for this holiday, and we make sure we keep the store nice and clean for everybody to stay safe.
Right, and you've got adjusted hours during the holiday season too, correct?
We do expand quite a bit. Right now, we're looking at every day we're going to be open, and it kind of varies day to day, but most days we open at 11, and we either close at 5 or 6. We may extend that just a little bit, but that's still to be determined right now.
Very good. Talking to Anthony Checchio. You're posting a lot of different items on Facebook as well. Tell us you're showing a lot of different helmets too from the NFL.
Yeah, we now have what's called the Rydell's Alternative Collection. Every year, they've actually done 2 releases this year, but every year they release at least one specialty collector's helmet. This year they released what's called the Eclipse, which is like a flat black helmet with a monochromatic logo. And then they also released the camo helmet, which looks phenomenal. It kind of, you would think they'd want to wear it on Salute to Service Day, but with the helmet rules in the NFL right now, it's not available. But we're hoping next year maybe they'll overturn those old helmet rules and we'll see some different helmets on the field than we're used to seeing.
Talking to Anthony Checchio, good friends at CP Shuckers in Virginia Beach, 2 locations, Shore Drive, Pacific Avenue. Delicious food, great appetizers, great entrees. Watch the games on TV. They practice social distancing very well. Go by and see Matt, Mark, Chef Leon, all the great staff. Get some great food. Take it to go. Eat inside. However you want. Food, beverages galore. Like them on Facebook. CP Shuckers, a tradition in Virginia Beach. Yeah, a lot going on too, especially with the NFL right now, and it's going to be an exciting month of December coming up with possibility of a lot of good teams expanded in the postseason too.
It is interesting to see the 7th team added and one less bye week for one of the top seeds, so it's going to really be an interesting playoff, and it'd be kind of fun to see how that affects the end of the year and then affects the playoff run.
Absolutely. And what other sports are hot inside the store? Right now, it's kind of a weird year, Anthony, as you know. We just finished having the Masters in November. You know, NBA is about to start back up. It seemed like they just finished yesterday during the late summer, early fall. And, of course, baseball just finished recently, too. So it's been kind of helter-skelter with mixed bag as far as seasons are concerned. How does that affect your business?
So it has affected it a lot. Like, if you would have told me when 2020 started, our top-selling items would be face masks and hand sanitizer and Washington Redskins, I don't think I would have believed you. But with the name change and, you know, them not making the logo anymore, we still have some items, and a bunch of people have come in and bought those collector's items. And then as far as other sports, the World Series and the NHL, they didn't quite, and the NBA, they didn't quite align with the popular teams in the area. If they did, I think it would have kind of created a craziness with all the championships at that same time. We did see a little bit of an online spike in those teams, but unfortunately we didn't bring a ton of championship stuff in because it was West Coast teams and teams that, you know, people aren't as into in this particular area.
How can people connect with you on social media? You're on various platforms. You're very, like we mentioned, very high profile on Facebook.
We are. We're on Facebook as a 757 Sports Collectibles, and then Instagram, it's also just 757 Sports Collectibles, fully spelled out, and then on Twitter, it's 757SC.
When you talk about some of the things we mentioned this time a year ago is totally different, even up until end of February was totally different than the toxic world we're living in now just came into fruition in March. Just kind of sad. But anyway, we're all trying to move on the best we can. You did a lot of having a lot of guest speakers come by and do remote, so that's kind of changed as well, hasn't it?
For this year, yes. We were very upset that we couldn't get a lot of autographed guests in this year. Unfortunately, it's a combination of things. Obviously, the athletes, you know, they don't necessarily want to put themselves out there for, you know, possibly getting the coronavirus, along with we want the customer to have the best experience, and when you can't really get up there, shake the person's hand, get next to them, and take a photo, it really affects the full experience. So we're hoping in 2021 we can go ahead and start ramping that back up and get people to come back into the store for some autograph appearances so everybody can meet their favorite stars.
Absolutely, too. And this has been a weird year locally, too. It doesn't really affect too many things, but it does, in a way, the economy. The Tides didn't have a season in 2020, and the Admirals have already exited with their season. They're not going to have one at all for local hockey. And, you know, that doesn't help the economy too much in Hampton Roads.
Yeah, that and ODU football not playing was another one that's kind of brutal. We have a big Old Dominion following, so I'm hoping we still see them this holiday. But I'm not 100% sure what the basketball team's doing as far as if they're playing or not. But I know the football not playing it's just strange having a fall with no ODU football. You know, it seemed to be kind of the norm now. And, you know, I always like to go to a game every year and just not the same. is in the past.
Absolutely. And, of course, you talk about just an evolving world we're living in. All right, Anthony, go ahead and give us one more time your website, how people can connect with you, and all the good stuff.
So we have a really nice e-commerce website that has over 100,000 products on it. It's 757sc.com. You go there, nice navigation. We've worked it out this year. Very easy to order. If you have any questions, you can always call in, 757-340-4016. Come in the store. If there's something that you want that you don't see, the jerseys, all the on-field stuff, we have an affiliate account with Fanatics, so we actually can get those items for you, and we get free 2-day shipping on probably 90% of their website. So if you have any needs for the holidays, for sports memorabilia, collectibles, apparel, just come in. We can take care of you. You don't have to go anywhere else. Support local business. We really need it in 2020 with the pandemic, and we'd really appreciate it if you stay local. 757
Sports Collectibles, the premier place in Virginia Beach for all things sports. Anthony, all the best to you and your family.
Thanks, Greg. Have a great one.
You too.
Happy holidays.
You too. Anthony Checchio right there from 757 Sports Collectibles. Sports Scene will continue after these messages. All right, folks, while you're browsing around on the internet, WPMH, The Lighthouse 100.1 FM, like them on Facebook, Greg Bick on YouTube, GREGBIC, go see my YouTube page, and also the Washington football team. They're the closest football team in the area. Of course, Ron Rivera, the head coach, has had his issues off the field. We wish him all the best for the remainder of 2020 and 2021, but his press conferences are very entertaining. He gets sometimes fed up with the reporters. He's doing it primarily by Zoom. It's a lot of redundancy on the questions. But overall, it's good for a laugh, and it'll make you want to go back again. The Washington football team YouTube page.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicaveras.
And welcome back to Sports Scene right here on WPMH, at Greg Bick on Twitter. Connect on gjbtv.com. Go to the contact section for feedback. Always a pleasure to talk to George McClain from The Marksman. George, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, Greg. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. So talk about November and what does it mean for the store as far as evolving into December, as far as the store hours and everything that goes in between.
Well, we're still, hanging in there with the virus restrictions. So our major stumbling block, if you will, is still trying to get enough inventory for everybody. And all of the wholesalers are doing everything that they can from the manufacturers, to get product and get it into us. But it's like everything else. Whether it's a bona fide reason or some folks using it as an excuse, we'll probably never know. But a lot of the manufacturers have cut staff down because of the virus, which means production is not what it's typically would be, which means there's a whole lot less product available out there for all of the wholesalers to distribute to the retailers. So that's kind of the issue right now. So not much of a change as far as that goes. To be honest with you, I really thought that the governor would announce some much stricter rules and stuff that he has as far as restaurants and that kind of thing this week. But I thought some of that might carry over to us, but it doesn't look like it's going to. So we'll just maintain our status quo of what we have been doing for the last couple of months since his last directive. So store hours are still the same what they have been. Retail hours are from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Closed on Sundays. However, we have started on Sunday opening for our concealed classes. We have decided to do some distance learning. Now, these are not online classes, but obviously you use the internet for the distance learning, but means you have to have a camera. You got to be physically visible. So we're having some students in class, and then with the option of others who may want to take the class, from home. But your presence there has to be verifiable. You can't just it's got to be during the class that we have going on. We have cameras involved on that, on the instructor, on the classroom, and it would be just like taking a distance learning college course.
Talking to George McClain from the Marksman and Newport News. Of course, their phone number is 872-4130. George is the owner. Got a great staff there as well. And I guess the biggest thing we've all learned during COVID, because this time a year ago nobody even heard about it, was primarily just the flu season, is to be patient. From the time you walk in the front door to the phones, to the staff being limited, to access all around. People just have to be patient, especially a new-time customer walking into the store for the first time.
Well, that's right. You need to. I guess the smart thing to do would be do your homework, but beforehand, especially if you're a new customer, new to the industry, versus a new customer for us. If maybe you had used somebody else who may or may not no longer be in business, and you want to check us out, that's great. Love to have you. Kind of thing, but as far as how do you go about doing things, it's still all reservation based. So you need to call in ahead to really get a spot on the range, since we're still restricted to 50% capacity there. If you happen to just show up at the door, that's not saying that you're going to get turned away. But if there's no spots available, you're going to have to wait until there's an empty spot. But you may luck out and come to the door. Do you have a spot on the range? And if we do, obviously you'll be able to get that. But if you call in and you make an appointment, we ask that you please show up for your appointment, and don't call us up and leave a voicemail or send an email saying something happened and I can't show up. If that happens, call and keep calling until you talk to somebody. Don't leave a voicemail, because those don't get checked every 30 seconds. They get checked maybe a time or two during the day, but the load that we have in the store with everything going on, and again with fewer employees like everybody else, time is precious. So we don't have someone sitting there looking at emails constantly or checking phone messages. Typically, because everyone is calling in for their reservation time on the range, and we're taking care of those customers versus spending time checking emails and checking voice messages.
George, what's the biggest demand right now as people walk in? Is it the ammunition? Is it supplies? Is it stuff that you need to order online? Is it the classes? Is it the range? What is the biggest demand that you're seeing, you and the staff, right now in November and December?
Well, the demand's pretty well balanced. I guess probably what sticks in our minds is the demand that we're unable to fill, and most of that would come from the ammo standpoint. That it's tight, and keep in mind, for a shooting range, if we don't maintain ammo for the customers, we not only lose the sale of the ammo, we also lose the sale from the range rental, because it's obviously, if you have no ammo to shoot, you don't need a place to shoot it. So, for us, that's a double whammy. So we need to make sure that we keep all the ammo that we can. Make sure that it's allocated to where we've got a substantial amount for range customers. And then, if a customer wants to come in and buy ammo and take that out, take it home with them, there are some restrictions on that. If it's hollow point ammo for self-defense, you can take that out. You can come in and buy it and take it home with you. But a lot of the other, we want to keep for range use.
Very good. Talking to George McClain right here of the Marksman. George, you're very active on Facebook. Your staff is, as well on social media, and that's a good way to connect, especially when things change day to day.
Well, that's quicker. We've had a lot of folks who say, "Well, you didn't update your web page, your website." That takes more time to do that versus our Facebook page. So if for the current stuff, or like you just said, if things change very quickly, or that Facebook page is the place to go to and to get any of the latest happenings.
Very good. Talking to George McClain. And George, just like people need to be cognizant with it getting dark earlier, we mentioned that a little bit last month, but now it really does get dark by 5:30. You have to have your keys in your hand, especially when you're out in the public. You might even do something as simple as leave your garage door opener in your house, and you've got to find a way to get into your house. If you can, a burglar can too. So you got to be really safe about your house and your car on home and on the road as well.
Probably the best thing for homes is to have a motion detectable light installed. So when you pull into your driveway or you get out of your car walking towards your front door, that it detects your motion and turns the light on. And that would be the same thing whether it's you or somebody visiting that you would invite, or someone visiting that you don't want there, that they can't just sneak up in the dark and do something bad, that the lights will illuminate. So you have to kind of take a look at the whole picture when you're looking at safety and security. And there's that is just one item, but there's several things to get a nice secure environment around your home that you'd probably need to take a look at.
And this is basic, folks, but keep those bushes cut too. I mean, animals, I've seen deer in my own backyard. I mean, animals can hide in your backyard, the bushes, so can a nefarious human being as well.
That's absolutely true. A lot of people have that in the front of their homes. Most people might think, well, in the front of the house, you may be seen or think you're going to be seen, so the windows and doors in the back of the house may be more susceptible to break-ins. But when you have hedges and the big bushes of whatever in the front, it could be just as easy to break into a front window. And some people installing home security systems anymore, those front windows may be the last, if at all, that they would get sensors that would detect an opening or glass breakage. So again, this is part of that full kind of a deal, that if you want to have a good secure environment, there's several things that you need to keep in mind, and that's another one of those.
George, give us the full address again and any other information.
It's 520 Industrial Park Drive in Newport News. It's on the north end of the county. It's just about 3 stoplights from Fort Eustis Boulevard, and Industrial Park Drive runs between Jefferson and Warwick Boulevard. So other than that, hours we talked about, but give us a call if you have any questions about anything. We'll try to answer everything as much as we can, but keep in mind, if we've got 4 phone lines that roll over coming in there, but if it rings and rings and rings, it means that we don't have 4 telephone answers grabbing phone lines. We got someone that's probably on one of the other lines. If you get a busy signal, that means all 4 lines are activated; they're occupied. So we just ask for your patience and keep calling back till you get a live person to talk to.
Like the Marksman on Facebook, Gun and Gun Safety, all about the Marksman. George, have a good rest of the month, and we look forward to talking to you in mid-December.
All right, Greg, you take care. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too, George. George McClain from the Marksman. Sports Scene will continue after these messages.
Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicaveras, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic, and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM. What tees you off? Presented by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com.
All right, what teased me off? Colleen, I went to an organic juice store in North Carolina recently and paid over $9. Repeat, $9 for a glass of organic juice.
Oh, it's so healthy for you, but it is very expensive. Why is that? I hate that.
It is. It's really good. You're right. But you're like, man, that makes Starbucks look like it's cheap.
That's true. That's true.
How about this? Long road trips. You've all taken them for business. Like, let's say to Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's just use that for an example. That could be kind of really very difficult when you're driving by yourself.
It's boring. I do like to listen to the radio or some kind of music to keep me occupied.
Right. As well as the rush of Christmas. That's never easy, no matter how much we get used to it. It's never easy. You always think that you got to do more.
Comes earlier and earlier, and you have less and less time, I think.
Especially this year during the holiday season, not quite the same. But remember, family and faith are always very important. All right, that's what teased me off. On the next edition of Sports Scene, we'll see how December in 2020 finally ends as we evolve into 2021. Always be safe around you, wear a mask, and always be respectful of others will be the theme of the December show on Sports Scene, right here on WPMH at Greg Bick on Twitter.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bick-Averis.
And welcome back to Sports Scene right here on WPMH every Saturday morning from 10 to 11. Glad you're with us. Greg Bick-Averis talking to one of our favorite guests each and every time during the holiday season is Brenda Tusing from the Royal Chocolate. How are you, Brenda?
I'm just great today, Greg. How are you?
Very good, very good. Festive time of the year, the holiday season. Maybe not quite the same with COVID, but people still love their chocolate.
Absolutely, Greg. It is different this year, but it's not bad this year. We're very busy. We are consistently turning out gifts, corporate and personal gifts. We have a huge display of holiday gift baskets right now. They are stunningly beautiful. So we've got a store filled with chocolate, of course. We have the new rage, the hot chocolate bombs. If you haven't seen those, you should go to our Facebook page and see a little video. So, yeah, we've got a lot of fun things in the store. It's a festive season, and we're right in the swing of it.
Are you guys always evolving as far as items in the store? Because it seems like it's like your eyes can go from one spot to another pretty quick.
Well, they can, and there's a lot to see, and it can be a little overwhelming sometimes when people come in for the first time. That's why we try to do the tour of the store and point things out that they may not notice or really appreciate what they are. But we do try to evolve to a degree. We don't want to ever change who we are. We're quality chocolate, and that's all we want to be. So we stay with that theme, but we do find new things. We have a new line, for example, that we're carrying this year. That's the flavors are wonderful. The packaging's beautiful. So we always try to keep in mind what is appealing as far as taste and value, and even just the packaging is really important to us as well. You know, what would someone want to give? What would I want to give as a gift? So that's very important to us. But, yeah, we look for new things all the time.
And you talked about the seasonal stuff, too. Sometimes we're not always during the holiday season, but, you know, Christmas evolves into Valentine's Day, which evolves into Easter. But especially this year during COVID, a box of chocolate goes a long way for mental health as well, for therapy. It could be that pick-me-up that person needs at the right time.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And I think in this holiday season being the environment we're living in, some of the things that put people at ease. Now, you are more than welcome to come and shop in our store. We do curb service. We have always done that, but this year it was just a convenience before, and now some people find that the only way they want to shop. So we do curb service. We do local delivery. We ship your gifts all over the country. You can shop online. You can give us a phone call. But I see more people families are not getting together like they did in the past. But they still want to let people know, hey, I'm thinking of you. And it doesn't have to break the bank, and it can be beautiful, and it can be a quality chocolate item. And they're turning to us for that. Corporate as well. Maybe they're not doing the things they did last year. We're even starting to do some video, online, Zoom sort of chocolate tastings for companies. So there's a lot of change, but there's a lot of opportunity for people to just think a little differently and come to us and see what we can help you figure out this year.
Right, because big gatherings are not quite the norm. This year we saw that for Thanksgiving and possibly Christmas. You don't see the big plays or the shows or the operas. That's kind of sad, but you still have faith, you still have family, and you have your nice pick-me-ups like chocolate and the Royal Chocolate. Hard to believe, Brenda, 14 years.
Hard to believe for you?
Yeah.
What about me?
Yeah.
No, I know. Next month, well, mid-December is our 14th year anniversary, and we are going to do a really fun thing. We're going to do like 14 days and then a big grand prize, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So you'll see that on Facebook, and you'll see that on our email blast and things like that. So we're planning to have a lot of fun with that. We're planning to have fun with the holidays. We're looking at some things for our staff to keep them inspired and motivated, having fun. We always do a nice bonus program based on sales, and they make extra money just without having to get another job. So it's really it can be a very fun time of year, and we want to certainly help people to give gifts and feel good about what they're giving. So we're all about helping people figure out the best thing for whatever they're doing.
And you're very active on Facebook and social media as well.
Yes, we are. Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about your address and your hours so people will know before they make a trip out there.
Sure. So we are at 164 Central Park Avenue in Virginia Beach. And that's the Virginia Beach Town Center. Very easy to find. There's on-street parking. There is a lot of, in the building right above us, there's a lot of parking decks, free parking. And our store hours are about to change. We are going back. We've been closed on Monday. For a while, we were closed Monday and Tuesday. Now we're still closed Monday, but we're going to begin opening on Monday. So through the season anyway. So our hours now will be Monday through Thursday. We'll be open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday and Saturday, we're open 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and on Sunday, we're open 12 to 5. You can always come in. You can always call us, and we're here.
Well, tease the audience a little bit about some of the chocolate they can see and possibly try. And, of course, you got beverages, too.
Oh, my gosh, we have great beverages. We have a new one this year. We've added peanut butter to the hot chocolate or the frozen hot chocolate. So we do frozen beverages. They're a little bit like a milkshake consistency, wonderful flavors. You can add some peppermint and, like I said, peanut butter. We have hot chocolates. We have a spicy Maya hot chocolate, which is really nice. We still do our chocolate fondue in the store or to go. But when you come in, you see fresh. You see product being made. We make all of our gourmet apples right here in the store. We dip strawberries fresh. We have cases of chocolate that are made here. So you'll see that happening. You'll smell that happening the minute you come in the door.
Absolutely. Brenda, and you have a wonderful staff as well. We got to mention the staff.
I'm so glad you mentioned my staff. They are such fabulous people. They treat this store like it were their own. I trust them implicitly, and they are so caring and wonderful with our customers. Mm-hmm. You cannot find better people to work with or have somebody help you when you come into the store. They're just spectacular.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question. You're very involved with retail in Hampton Roads. What are your thoughts about some of the other fellow retailers, not necessarily the big box store retailers, but some of the mom and pops?
Well, as we all know, smaller retail is struggling right now. It's difficult. People aren't out shopping. Hours have had to change. That's created some, gosh, I went there and they were closed that day. But we have to do that based on staff and what we can manage right now. I think, though, the silver lining is that people have really learned that they value their small and local business. They've learned that's where I'm going to get the best customer service. When I need a particular item, somebody will call me back if they're not available, and I leave a message. They'll help me when I go in the store. So small and local is becoming a focus with all of this going on, and people are understanding that if I don't shop with these businesses, they won't be here anymore. And I will lose that personal touch, and I'll lose that community. Because I think we truly enhance the community. If all you have is big box, they have a great value. But if that's all you have, life's going to get kind of boring.
Absolutely. Brenda, 557-6925, give us the address.
164 Central Park Avenue, Virginia Beach, Virginia.
In the town center.
In the town center.
Very good. All the best to Terry and the wonderful staff, and we look forward to talking to you in a few weeks.
That's great. Thank you, Greg. You all have a wonderful day.
You too. My pleasure. Brenda Tusing right there, the owner of the Royal Chocolates. And thank you for all of our guests today on Sports Scene right here on WPMH. Doug Merrill, Anthony Checchio, George McClain, Brenda Tusing. For more, go to gjbtv.com. Click the YouTube link for archived audio and video and Sports Scene shows. I want to thank our producer as well, Colleen. Happy holidays. I'm Greg Picaveras. We'll talk to you soon.